Hello, everyone, and we might have some surprise news that would pump the markets. But before that, if you want the best crypto news, please like and subscribe to get all the best crypto news and rumors. Now, let's actually get to the surprise that actually might come. It does have to do with the Fed rates. If you look at poly markets right now, basically, there's an 88% chance people are guessing that there is no change in July. But we have a little bit of news that might give us some hope. Remember, the markets only change if something unexpected happens. If something expected happens, then it doesn't actually change because it's already been priced in way up the line. So, if we get a rate cut in July or September and people expect a rate cut in July and September, that won't change it. But if people think there's an 88% chance that it won't cut in July and we end up cutting, I think that'll have a substantial impact on the markets. Just like, remember, the first time the Japan did that yen carry trade thing, it completely pwned us. But the second time they did it, people expected it, so it didn't do anything. But there is a Fed Reserve governor, and the Fed actually, I think that there's 5 people or a couple more people that vote on this, whether we get a cut or not. And it looks like this guy is going to vote for cut in July. Of course, he's going to look at the numbers, but I think he's leaning towards cut. Now, I don't know about the other people, and I don't know about Jerome Powell, but perhaps there's more of a chance we'll get a cut in July. So Fed Reserve governor says interest rate cuts could materialize as early as July. This is Federal Reserve Governor Christopher Waller. In an interview with CNBC, Waller says the FOMC could slash the federal funds rate as soon as July. Now, it's not guaranteed that they will, but they might. He actually thinks that the inflation caused by the tariffs won't be too bad, and they need to look at it as in terms of setting policy and looking at the underlying trend of inflation. Right now, the data from the last couple of months is pretty good, even on a 12-month basis. And of course, he's seeing it go down to target. However, we have actually discussed how most of the inflation from tariffs will phase in the next 6 to 12 months, as companies have actually built up inventory pre-policy, and they're going through that inventory. And in the next month or two, that inventory is probably going to drain, and they're going to have to buy products at a higher price, which means it's going to pass on to the consumer. And he's saying that if the inflation looks pretty good with the tariff stuff, he thinks that we're in the position that we can do this as early as July. And I think he is definitely leaning towards voting for it. Waller does say that's just his view and acknowledges the FOMC might not share the same opinion. And of course, the FOMC announced Wednesday that it planned to maintain the target range for Fed funds rate at 4.25 to 4.5. That was in June, but if you actually look at their long-term projections, they still project about 3.9 at the end of the year, which means 2 rate cuts at the end of the year. Now, I don't actually think 2 rate cuts are going to happen. I think it's going to be 1 rate cut, but they got to do it by September. If they don't do it by September, most likely it won't happen at all. And I do actually think because of that, there's actually a higher chance than poly market is actually predicting at 88% that it holds still that we will actually get a cut. Basically, the chance of getting a cut is going down, down, and down more every couple of days I look at it. If I look at poly market, the decision in September, there's a 59% chance that there's no change. And even when I look at October, I'm looking at no change at 51% chance. So betting markets are not very optimistic about this. But since Waller, who actually has a vote on the Fed board, says it might materialize in July, maybe other governors will say the same thing. Remember, Jerome Powell might be the biggest voice in the Fed, but he is not the only voice. If 3 of the 5 want a rate cut, then we actually get a rate cut. I think we'll get more answers as we head towards July. But if they leak more clues that we're going to get a rate cut in July, I think you'll see the markets kind of turn. By the way, another piece of good news is that James Nguyen actually took a short. And and even James Nguyen knows that the whales hunt James Nguyen. Now, unfortunately, he was not stupid enough to take a $1.24 billion short. Either that or he just doesn't have enough money to take a $1.24 billion short. But he did indeed take a short. And because he took a short, the whales might hunt him because they just hunt James Wynn for sport these days. So we might get a small, solid bump just to destroy and liquidate James Wynn before we continue on downward. But hey, there's an opportunity to maybe make some money on his misfortune. So that's the news for today. Let me know what you think. Like and subscribe. Hit that bell notifications button. Thank you and have a nice day.